Welcome, thank you for joining Crypto and NFT for Newbies. I'm Suvashen, and today I'm joined by crypto newbie Neeri, who is also the co-founder of PACT, as well as Bare Necessities NFT project. Welcome, Neeri. It's your first webinar.
Thanks, Suvashen. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. And I'm excited about this.
Really?
Yeah, no, because I'm literally a newbie, so
yeah,
go slow.
Okay, I'll try. Okay, so we're going to start the presentation off today by taking you through blockchain and Bitcoin. And we're going to start a bit technical, but as we go through the PowerPoint presentation, we'll try and make it as easy as possible for all newbies to understand the blockchain and what an NFT is. Okay, so firstly, what is a blockchain? So a blockchain is a combination of three leading technologies. It's a cryptographic key, which is basically a hash key, and it's a peer-to-peer network containing a shared ledger. So the guys that basically started off on the internet would know technologies like Napster, where you could share music, etc.
Right.
Where music was stored in different computers, and then you could basically download the music.
Yeah.
So blockchain works in kind of the same way. It's a peer-to-peer network whereby there's multiple nodes on the blockchain, but the difference is it's authenticated and it's secure. The blockchain is also a means of computing to store transactions and records on the network. So think of this entire ledger that's stored on multiple computers. That's what a blockchain is. It's a distributed ledger with a single version of the truth. Does that make sense, Neeri?
Well, can you use a real life experience to compare it to?
Yeah, okay, right. So I'll go into the next slide. Maybe we'll make it a bit more simplified for us to understand. So let's just take a simple transaction. You interact with your bank. Mm-hmm. So when you deposit money or withdraw money, the money is basically you interact with your intermediary, which is the bank itself. So they store all your records. So if there's a failure at the bank, what happens?
Your records are all lost.
Your records are lost.
Yeah.
Right? That's one. Obviously, as well, no clients can interact.
Yeah.
You can't withdraw your money. You can't deposit anything. All records associated with that is gone, right? Mm-hmm. Because the bank is a centralized institution. So think of it as a centralized ledger. Whereas a blockchain, that version in terms of all your account information, etc., is distributed amongst thousands of machines. And everyone has access to that. So it's a public ledger of information. So when you want to transfer money, or when you want to withdraw money, as an example, instead of authenticating that against your bank, which stores a single version of that truth, it basically gets authenticated against all these machines. And they basically say, okay, right, we agree with this transaction. The next machine goes and says, we agree with this transaction. And when they receive something called consensus, the transaction is stored on the blockchain. So there's no one single point of failure in terms of how transactions are stored.
So if I'm going to keep my money in there, it's pretty secure because no one person can.
Exactly. And with cryptography technology, it's basically very difficult to hack a blockchain. So let's go to the next steps, which basically describes the blockchain process itself. Let's just take a single transaction. So you want to transfer, for example, Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is basically a currency that gets stored on the blockchain. So in simplistic terms, if we had to look at it, think of blockchain as your operating system. Mm-hmm. And Bitcoin, the currency, gets stored on top of it. So just say, for example, you want to transfer money to a specific person. So I'll use the example that we have on the screen right now. So Rob has a Bitcoin wallet.
Right.
He scans an address, which is basically a Bitcoin address or an Ethereum address, depending on what currency you want to transfer. He fills the amount that you basically want to transfer. It sends it out. And then what happens is this transaction gets basically sent to the blockchain itself. Then all these nodes that I described earlier, where it's multiple machines that hold this ledger in terms of all transactions that are happening on the blockchain, authenticates it and says, should I process this transaction? Right?
Okay.
And when it provides consensus that this transaction is legitimate, it basically gets stored and creates a new block within the system. So you probably heard of this concept where a lot of people are doing mining.
Yes.
So they're mining Bitcoin and they're mining Ethereum, etc., right? So when a new block is created, right, a new transaction is created, it creates a block on the blockchain itself, creates a new block.
Okay.
So the miner, for solving this problem and creating the new block within the blockchain ecosystem, receives a reward, and generally receives the reward, for example, in Bitcoin itself.
Okay.
So that's how miners are making money, mining on the Bitcoin blockchain itself. Once it happens, the person that you're sending the money to, when the confirmation gets done, receives the money in its wallet, right? So at no one point in time is there an intermediary within the ecosystem itself. So if you had to transfer money in a traditional sense, it basically goes to your bank, the bank authenticates the transaction, and the money gets sent across, right? And they're the custodians of all this information.
Yeah.
With the distributed ledger and blockchain technology, that's no longer the case. So you don't need a bank anymore to transfer money from person A to person B. Again, this happens within seconds. And also, the cost of transferring money from one point to another point is much cheaper and will reduce over a period of time on the blockchain. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It also, when you explain it, it's all these different computers that are authenticated, but it actually happens really fast. It's not.
It happens really
fast.
Okay. Exactly. Right. So there's been an evolution in blockchain, right? So the first blockchain project currency that was introduced was Bitcoin. So you probably heard of that.
Yeah.
That's the fad right now, right?
Yeah.
So Bitcoin is basically a rudimentary point in terms of how blockchain works. The blockchain has actually evolved in something called, in new technologies like Ethereum, which introduced a concept called smart contracts. So think of a smart contract like a normal contract that you would have between person A and person B.
Okay.
Right? So just say you want to transfer a piece of property. You've got a piece of property and then you want to transfer the property across to someone else.
Okay.
Or vice versa,
Yeah.
right? Within the blockchain ecosystem, you can define something called a smart contract, and that's what Ethereum introduced. So instead of going through an intermediary again, in terms of doing a property transfer, you can basically perform it on the blockchain, defining a smart contract. So the process of this happening in the future is going to make it much simpler in terms of how we process stuff and how we use stuff in the real world. Obviously now with newer technologies coming up, we're in blockchain 3.0, right? Which has introduced newer technologies and for stuff to be done much faster, right?
Yes.
So in the current Ethereum infrastructure, you can probably only process 7 to 14 transactions per second, right? And that's evolved over the last couple of years. With the newer blockchains, you can process 1,000 to 100,000 transactions per second, which is the equivalent of what MasterCard does when it processes transactions across the world. So blockchains are becoming more and more sophisticated, and it's becoming more and more faster.
Right.
So the real world adoption is actually happening from last year to now, because we've seen much more real world use cases in terms of how blockchain is being used in the current infrastructure that we operate in. You'll notice that in a lot of popular sites now, they accept Bitcoin,
Yes.
they accept Ethereum,
Yeah.
right? In New York, people started offering that you can buy properties, paying with your Bitcoin, paying with your Ethereum as well. So you can see more and more real world adoptions in terms of how blockchain and cryptocurrency is being used in the real world.
Yes.
And with the advent of newer and newer technologies, you're going to see the more use cases in terms of how it gets adopted in the real world environment.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So Ethereum is, in other words, a currency.
Yes, that sits on top of a blockchain.
Okay.
And then we have multiple blockchains. I'll take you to what a private blockchain is and what a public blockchain is, right?
Okay.
So what's the pros of a blockchain? Just to recap, right? So we have improved accuracy by removing human involvement in verification. So taking out a bank or taking out an attorney out of the equation when we're doing financial or legal transactions. Cost reductions by eliminating third-party verification, as I mentioned, like a central bank. Decentralization makes it harder to tamper with. And when I say that, because this network is distributed over millions and millions of nodes,
Right.
it basically makes it impossible for someone to tamper with the information.
Okay.
Because you have to go in or have majority in terms of network usage or network nodes in order to tamper with the blockchain itself. So the more world case adoption that happens, it makes it more and more impossible to tamper with the blockchain going forward.
So eliminating fraud, in other words.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So transactions are much more secure. It's much more private. With regards to censorship and stuff that you see that happen in most governments, blockchain it's not going to happen in terms of how it goes forward.
I do think a lot of people feel insecure when they hear about wallets and stuff. Are you going to be explaining that a little bit more?
Yes. So obviously this is the technical part, and I'm going to try and make it simpler for you where you're going to start using blockchain in the real world, right? So I'm going to create a simple wallet for you that I did earlier, right? I've transferred a little bit of money, which I want back.
Non-refundable.
Non-refundable money, right? And then we're going to start that process. So as I explained earlier, right, there are public blockchains, which is like Bitcoin and Ethereum and a couple other ones. Then there are consortium blockchains. And a lot of people know what consortium blockchains are. So it's R3 Corda. And I'll just explain you a bit of R3, right? So we'll see a bit of use case, real world examples that are existing that not a lot of people know about that's happening on consortium blockchains. So our three consortium blockchains is basically banks like ABSA, Standard Bank, all the major banks in the world have formed something called a consortium blockchain.
Okay.
So what that actually means is that, so Bitcoin may not be the currency whereby banks start using it to exchange funds between one government to another government, or from a citizen in terms of how he deposits money into the banking system, etc. They will introduce something called stablecoins. Okay. So what are stablecoins? Stablecoins is basically pegged against the currency itself. So you'll find USDT, which is pegged against $1 US. So every time you do a trade, it's pegged against the dollar. Okay. Right? The South African Reserve Bank is actually working on a white paper right now in terms of introducing a South African rand stablecoin. So,
what's a white paper?
So white paper is basically like a technical paper in terms of how this ecosystem is going to work.
Okay. In
simple terms. So what you're going to see that's going to evolve over a period of time is that the banks are going to use blockchain technology. They may not be using Bitcoin or Ethereum in terms of transacting with each other, but they'll introduce something called a stablecoin. So they'll introduce the efficiencies of blockchain within the ecosystem itself, but without the volatility that comes with using a Bitcoin or an Ethereum, if that makes sense. Because you'll probably see a lot of articles out there. Bitcoin's up 80%, and the next day Bitcoin's down 40%, right? So you cannot expect that kind of volatility within a banking ecosystem, because people are going to make a lot of money and lose a lot of money at the same time. Yeah. Right?
Yes.
So the bank will introduce something called a stablecoin, where funds will be actually tokenized through a stablecoin and move between banking channels, right? But you're not going to see the volatility that happens on a public blockchain like a Bitcoin or an Ethereum. But there will still be use cases in terms of Bitcoin and Ethereum in other use cases within the environment. And then you have the private blockchains like Monex and Multichain and a couple others that private institutions are building up. Okay. So you probably see that within the supply chain environment, etc. So I'm not going to cover that too much today.
But are all these blockchains, are they currently being used in like corporate environments?
Okay, right. So blockchain technology is actually widely used. Well, not widely used. It's been used for a while in Africa. So you probably heard of something called M-Pesa by Vodacom.
Yes, yeah.
Right? It's quite popular in East Africa and stuff. The strange thing enough, that's powered by blockchain technology.
Oh, wow.
And no one knows that.
Right.
So millions and millions of transactions happen on M-Pesa and actually happens on the blockchain. And the thing is why it happens, it protects against hyperinflation and all that stuff that happens within, third world countries. Blockchain is also a technology that's going to disrupt the banking institutions as well, because it's going to make it easier for the unbanked to become banked. Yes. Right? So for people that are going to have wallets on their phones, etc., it's going to be able to receive money from their relatives that are sitting in the US.
That's
right?
So empowering, though.
Exactly, because imagine sending $30 across from the US to Africa and then paying $60 in terms of transaction fees, right? Yeah. Whereby you can use blockchain technology to transfer the same amount of money. So think of it transferring an email from one computer to the next computer. The transaction fee is minimal. Yeah. And that's what blockchain is going to basically introduce into the world. It's also going to protect it against what happens in governments. And I think that's why there's always a hesitancy in terms of what's actually happening in the environment right now. Because governments are finding it hard to adopt it, because it takes the power away from government and more into the individual themselves in terms of controlling their money. So political situations, etc., become irrelevant in governments. Okay. Because blockchain is international. It's immutable. It cannot be stopped. There's no one controlling entity that controls or manipulates in terms of what actually happens in your currency.
It can minimize corruption so much.
Exactly. So we actually building use cases around this in terms of building supply chain management solutions for government, building stuff around property transfers, etc., that all going to be built on the blockchain technology. And you're going to see the advent and usage of this technology more and more happening over the years. So what's the cool stuff that's happening in blockchain, right? And you probably heard of this buzzword right now called NFTs.
Yes.
Right? So what is an NFT? So you're probably thinking it's all these weird pieces of artwork and why are people paying exorbitant money for it, etc., right?
Yeah. Well, one person asked me if it was an STD.
Okay, what I can tell you, it's not an STD, right? But, right, so let me explain to you what is an NFT. It's a non-fungible token, right? And what is that? So there's two concepts of this. There's fungible and there's non-fungible. So what is non-fungible? Fungible is like your money. So like your money, it's like your Bitcoin, it's like gold, it's like Ethereum, etc. Right? Because just say, for example, I lend you $10 today, right? You can give me 2 5 Rand notes back in return. It's equivalent to the same amount of value.
Still 10 Rand, yeah.
It's still 10 Rand, right? Non-fungible is basically unique. It cannot be easily interchangeable between asset classes.
Okay.
Right? So that would be like a painting.
Right.
Because every artist's impression is unique, right? In its own unique way. So even if he sketches the same thing, it's not going to be exact. Nor can you say, can you trade me this for that? Because it's an estimation of value. It's no one piece is exactly equivalent to the next.
Is it like bartering?
No, not really.
No.
Okay.
No.
Right. So also you get physical, tangible NFTs, like your property. So can you exchange your property with your neighbor? Is it the exact same value?
No.
No?
No.
So it makes it non-fungible.
Okay.
Same thing with, for example, a skin or an item on your gaming channel that you play with. So just say you're playing a golf game and you buy this new golf club that's on this game. That's an NFT. Or when you're wearing a new skin on a game, that's an NFT. Or a new outfit, that's an NFT. It's unique, right? And it's unique to you, right?
Okay.
So there's also something called, you probably heard of this, CryptoKitties. This was the first NFT, so non-fungible token that was released on the blockchain and was released on the Ethereum blockchain, which made it very unique in its nature and was just a piece of artwork, right? But the value of it is probably running into the millions right now.
How long ago was this?
This was probably around 2017, if I'm not mistaken. So if you look at a non-fungible token, what is it? It's basically a certificate that sits on the distributed ledger. So we spoke about this ledger that sits between all these computers.
Yes.
So it's a distributed ledger that basically happens on the blockchain itself. So what I'm going to do today is that I'm going to take you and show you where all these NFTs, most of them exist. And I'm going to show you how to buy one.
And then we're going to buy one.
I'll try and buy
one for
you. Right, so the first channel where you can actually do this is on a platform called OpenSea. So OpenSea is a storage of where all these 90% of these NFTs exist. And basically you can go through this collection and you can view them and then you can buy the stuff.
Right.
So we're going to scroll around OpenSea, but firstly, before I do that, I'm going to explain to the audience today how to basically use a MetaMask wallet.
Before we go there, can I quickly just ask, what can an NFT be? Is it just an artwork or what can it be?
No, it can be anything. So think of your property. We can create that as an NFT.
Okay.
Right? It can be created in digital form of that NFT. So we're playing around with the concept.
And I can put it on OpenSea.
You can you own the physical, but you're selling the digital version of it.
Okay. So I could do this with a song or something. You
could do it with a song. Exactly.
Wow.
So you'll see technologies that are disrupting the Spotify space. Have you used Spotify?
Yeah.
People are disrupting the Spotify space or even Apple Music. And the reason why they're doing it is because a lot of artists are complaining about in terms of how their royalties come in.
Yeah.
So when you sit on a blockchain itself, it's the copyright and stuff like we can trace it back to the original entity of where it's actually being owned.
Okay.
So in terms of how royalties, etc., gets paid, it's going to be a much more transparent process that happens out there in the market.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
So we can create basically anything as an NFT. I can even create you as an NFT. The digital version we can sell Neeri off on OpenSea.
Can I be like slimmer there?
Yeah, sure. Anything you want. Right. So what we're going to do is we're going to introduce you to a concept called digital wallets. I've created a digital wallet for Neeri this morning. And she got an early Christmas present, but I gave her $42.
Sure. Thank
you. Okay, but how do we get a MetaMask wallet? Right? So basically what we're going to do is, let me just Google it and show you guys.
So what you say, this MetaMask wallet?
Right, so we're going to go into this MetaMask link here, and we're going to click on download now, right? And then what it basically does, you can either download it as an app on your phone.
Right.
Alternatively, it'll come as an extension on your browser, right in the corner here. You can see the MetaMask logo?
Yes, yeah.
So you click on it, there's your wallet open up.
Yeah.
You can probably see a unique key there where I'm pointing up there, right?
Right, yeah.
Right. Basically, that's your identity. That's your wallet ID. So think of that as your personal account number.
Okay.
So every single transaction that I mentioned earlier that happens on a public blockchain, if you copy that address and you go to a specific site, I can see every single transaction that happens on your wallet.
Can you see how much is in my wallet?
No.
Okay. Okay. That's really
Well,
cool.
you only got $42, so
It's still,
we're not going to break the bank today. Right. So in order to interact on OpenSea, you need to open up a MetaMask wallet. So a lot of viewers will probably have something called Luno, right? Where they basically, it's a South African digital wallet. Mm-hmm. You probably have that in your African.
Yes, I do. So
you can buy Bitcoin and Litecoin and Ethereum and all the older cryptocurrencies you can buy from that wallet, right? So what we're going to do, what's slightly different is that MetaMask allows you to interact with a bigger ecosystem of tokens that are out there in the market.
Okay.
So I've transferred from your Luno wallet into the MetaMask wallet. So all I have to do is copy that address that you see on the top, go into your Luno wallet, paste that address in, and tell the wallet how much I want to transfer into your wallet, MetaMask wallet.
Okay.
It's that simple. And that transaction happens within seconds.
Wow.
So think of it you sitting overseas and I need to send you some money. I'm sitting in South Africa, I just copy your wallet address, I paste in the amount, boom, it goes. Yeah. So I've got OpenSea opened up here. Right. So what I have to do is I've connected my wallet. That's the wallet at the top. And as you can see, I've connected the same wallet here. I can search.
So this actually makes donations to organizations pretty easier. So people don't have to ask if you have a PayPal or if you have, an international bank.
Exactly. Yeah, it's exactly exactly. So there's no intermediaries involved in terms of how the transaction happens.
And even from a business perspective, if you're an artist or something and selling your art, it means you could sell it globally with no costs, like no exorbitant costs.
So we'll just look at what the top stuff is happening right now in the market. So you probably heard of this thing called CryptoPunks.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, you're probably thinking, why are the weirdos buying CryptoPunks, right? So this was the first pieces of NFTs that were introduced into the market, right? And most of these NFTs are owned either by celebrities or high net worth individuals. Recently, MasterCard just bought a CryptoPunk for like $400,000.
What?
Crypto and blockchain technology is going to be more and more widely used. So I'm not going to buy a CryptoPunk because we can't afford one today, right? But if we had to open up one, right? Right, the last price that was probably paid on this thing, you'll probably open up just now. Okay, it's not. Let's just go back a second. So we can basically just look at what's being paid for these CryptoPunks, right? Oh, internet's a bit slow. Right, so you could actually see here the last sale for this CryptoPunk was 75 Ether, which was $315,000, which was sold an hour ago.
Dollars.
And we can actually see, since it's a public blockchain, we can see who it was sold from, right? And it was sold to this person. Right? So everything sits on the ledger. So we can basically see a full audit of what's actually happening in the world in terms of the public blockchain.
So you can see who bought
this was sold 4 hours ago, and this was sold for $336,000. So, exactly. Does not make sense, but NFTs are the way to go, right? So we think, where are the use cases for these NFTs?
Yeah.
Right? It's going to be used in games, right? So think of your PlayStation and all these. So think of you playing a PlayStation game and you're playing FIFA as an example, right?
Yeah.
So think if you can buy the players and create them as NFTs.
Wow.
And every time someone plays, you can start trading these players between different people.
Okay.
So one guy wants to play with Ronaldo, but he doesn't have an NFT for Ronaldo, so he's going to trade it for someone else who is willing to pay him maybe $10,000 for it. And that's how people are going to start making money on these gaming concepts, right?
Okay, wow.
Right? So you probably heard of also this thing called the metaverse.
Yes.
So Mark Zuckerberg, and you're a Facebook. I know you love Facebook, right?
Yeah.
So Mark Zuckerberg came up with this entire thing called the Meta, right? But it's not a Facebook thing. It's an actual thing that's actually happening in the market right now.
Okay.
So we're moving into a new space in terms of how we interact with the web, right? We're not going to interact with the web in the traditional sense of how we see it right now.
Okay.
We're moving into a web 3.0, which means that with regards to censorship, so if you look at countries like China and countries where the censorship is quite high,
yeah,
the web 3.0 is going to make censorship redundant or non-existent. You're going to interact in a space where you control the data that you see and the data that you view. No one's going to be able to censor you in terms of how it gets done. Because all this information exists within the blockchain, and the blockchain it cannot be corruptible, you're going to be able to see, so guys in China, etc., they're going to interact with the blockchain in a very different way.
So does that mean when anything goes on the blockchain, we can't edit it or delete it? Or...
No, you cannot.
Wow.
Right? Okay. So, again, that's the beauty of blockchain technology.
All right.
Right? So if we had to go buy an NFT, so let's just look for something cheaper that we can actually afford today.
Scrooge.
Scrooge, yeah, sorry. So I'm going to try and find something. So I actually went and looked for something earlier. An NFT. I still don't think we're going to be able to afford it, but I'm just going to show the viewers in terms of how you purchase one, right? So, Neeri, which one do you want?
Wow,
it's a Christmas present from me. So.
Yeah, that dude looks cool.
Exactly. So let's just say we want to buy, right? So we can either make an offer. Okay, so this is going to bid, so we're going to have to make an offer for it. So once we click that button, it's going to connect to my wallet.
Right.
At the top, it's going to deduct my Ether from there, and it'll do a purchase of the NFT, right?
Make an offer means it's already owned by someone and they want to sell
exactly.
it. Okay.
So it's basically going on bid. So we're going to have to basically look for stuff that we can buy now. So we can buy this now, but this is also very expensive. Right, so I'm going to click on the buy now button in any case, right? And then what happens is it basically comes up with an option where you can click on buy and the transaction happens. So what will happen is when you connect back to your wallet over here, you will see the NFT come in.
Okay.
Simple?
Yeah, it's actually really easy compared to the technical stuff behind it. This interface is really easy. Yeah,
so think of it as going shopping, right? But you're not shopping with money now, real money. You're shopping with digital money, right? And everything that you buy sits on the blockchain itself. So the next thing I want to show you is basically how to buy some crypto. So again, I've created an account with Binance for you. And you're luck today because I transferred $500.
What's Binance?
So Binance is a centralized exchange, right? Meaning that it's controlled in one entity.
Yeah, okay.
Right? So all the stuff that happens on a centralized platform.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So if we want to buy something, right? So what I've done is I've transferred $500 into your account. Happy Christmas.
Thank you.
And we're going to go into the market, right? So what do I look for when I'm buying crypto? So generally, I think portfolios should be split in the following ways. You should be holding high-end crypto like Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc., right? As a standard. So that should be at least 50% of your portfolio, right? But then we're going into newer sets in terms of technologies, right? So we're saying, where is crypto going to move in 2022, right? And it's going to be moving into the gaming platform and the metaverse platform. Because where's the biggest amount of users that are sitting that's going to be moving onto the blockchain? In the gaming platform.
Yeah, absolutely,
right? Yeah. And the kids and the teenagers, even myself that plays FIFA, we want to buy NFTs that are playing in the game concepts.
Right.
So you'll see a lot of the gaming stocks right now move in high value, very high up in value over the last 2 to 3 months.
Right.
You'll also see a lot of the metaverse technologies moving up because we're moving to the Web 3.0 metaverse sort of play in terms of how we interact with the web.
So metaverse now, just quickly, metaverse is an actual virtual world.
Right. So think of it, you're going to go into this virtual world and you're going to be able to buy stuff.
So I could see like a McDonald's there.
You could see a McDonald's there.
Okay.
You could see a clothing shop where you can go in and go purchase something.
Right.
We using the metaverse in a different way. So I play a lot in the public sector stuff.
Right.
So we created a metaverse around in terms of instead of you walking into a center where you need to pay your bill, etc. You're going to basically be able to go in online, create an avatar of yourself.
Cool.
And then basically interact with another real person that's sitting in the metaverse.
Right.
And interact with your account information, pay your bill, do all the stuff that you need to do. Right? So you see a lot of the stocks like that's sitting on the metaverse play, like Render, etc., that's going up in value because those are the technologies that are going to be used.
Okay, right.
So what I would suggest, what I would suggest with a lot of people is that keep a lot of your portfolio sitting in Bitcoin and Ethereum, because that's going to be the standard de facto in crypto for a while, right? That's never going to lose you high values in terms of money, right? Then you should take a bit of risk and then move some of your money into DeFi stuff. So think of DeFi as a protocol. So you have all these chains, right? You have Ethereum, you have Bitcoin, you have Solana, you have all these different type of technologies, right? So the DeFi protocols are going to basically make all these things talk with each other.
Okay.
So the technologies that underpin that is going to go up in value.
Okay.
Right? So a lot of people think, okay, right, Bitcoin is a scam and Ether is a scam.
Yes, yeah.
You probably heard that a lot.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
But then going to projects, what I generally do is that I would go into a project, for example. So I'm just going to take one of the higher end ones now, right? So this is a site called CoinGecko. It basically it shows you all the cryptocurrencies that are available on the market. So I'm just going to pick up one that I bought like 2 years ago. I bought this for like 80 cents, right? 80 US cents, right? It's near $21 today, but there's potential here. So what I would generally do is I would go to research this stuff, right? It always requires you to do that homework. And the reason being, if I had to give you 1,000 Rand today, and someone told you to go buy the stuff, would you not do your research?
No, that's $1,000. I need to make sure I'm going to.
You know what you're doing with it, right? So you won't want to invest in something that you don't know what it actually does, right? I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't expect anyone else to do that, right?
Yeah, so I think it's a lot of terminology. So if you are listening and it sounds a bit intimidating, definitely take down notes and research it, as Suvashen said.
Yeah. So I would look at where this coin is basically listed. I would look at the chart history of the token itself. There's various things that I would do, right? So in terms of overview, I would basically go in and check the history behind this. Now, I've done my homework behind this, right? So ex-founder, CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt, is also an advisor on this project.
Okay.
Right? So again, it's a reputable advisors that sit on the board of these projects, right? So I would do a lot of homework and stuff in terms of how I purchase stuff. So I would advise anyone, don't just listen to what everyone's telling you to buy.
Yeah.
And when someone makes these false promises in terms of you making 80, 90%, 100% within a week, I would stay away far from it, because generally those things are scams.
Okay.
Make sense?
Good advice, yes.
So what we're going to do today, we're going to do a simple trade, right? So I'm going to buy you something on the market itself.
Okay.
And I'm going to show you how to do it.
Right.
So let's go and buy some. What do you want to buy today?
Something that I'm going to get my money out at an earlier stage.
Okay, right. So I'm going to buy you something called Terra. So I'm going to click on Terra here. I'm going to click on trade. So this is the USDT pair. So let me just check your wallet and see if I gave you any USDT. If not, so if we click on the top here, we click on fiat and spot. We're going to check quickly if you have any USDT, what currencies I transferred earlier. Right, so you've got a bit of Ethereum sitting here, right? So you got $100 of Ethereum. So I'm going to buy you 1 Luna today. Right, so I'm going to go back into the market.
I feel like this is the easiest way of making money ever.
It's not. So I think the viewers need to know that it's not easy. It requires a lot of research and work, right? Because there's a lot of scam projects that are sitting here. Right? That's not going to have 2 to 3 year longevity in terms of whether it's going to be around till then. So always look at it.
So is that the reason why like CryptoPunks and everything actually sold, because they actually have a plan to be around for a long time?
Well, I think also it's also it's also a fad when it comes to CryptoPunks, I think, right? Because it's also showing that, you know what, if you look at high net worth individuals, it's like, I got the most expensive NFT that's out there in the market, right? So again, art collectors and stuff go along those trends.
Right.
So I'm going to buy you a bit of Luna today, right? So Luna is sitting at $71.
While Suvashen is doing that, there's also a tab on the bottom for you to ask any questions or comments. So like me, I'm asking questions. If you have any questions, please jot them down at below and he'll answer them for you.
Okay, so Luna doesn't have an Ether pair, maybe, so I can buy you something else. Let me just go back. Right, so let's find something else that we can buy for you quickly. Right. Let's just go through a list here. I just don't want to buy you something and then you have to sell it tomorrow.
I make money back.
Yeah. Right, so let me just go with Ether. Let me just trade it for USDT. Make it simple. We go back to dollars again instead of me searching around for stuff. Right, so this is basically the chart, right? And you can basically switch between 1 hour chart. So basically it shows you the close at every hour, what the value happened on the chart. Generally, I won't trade on a 1 hour chart, right? I trade on daily charts or I trade on weekly charts, right?
Okay.
1 hour charts, so for the short-term traders, right? They win big and lose big. Right? So we're going to go 4 hour chart, right? We're just going to show you how it looks, right? So it doesn't really matter in terms of how we buy it right now. Right.
I know it looks a bit complex, but we are doing a series of webinars, and this is just an overview. And as we go through different episodes, everything will be explained more in detail.
Right.
So and Suvashen will be back to speak each time.
Thank you, Neeri.
Absolutely. And he'll be buying me something every time to show you how it works.
Wow. So I'm going to sell you Ether for US dollar, right? So let's just assume, we're assuming today that the market's going to go down tomorrow, and we're moving all our funds to USDT.
All right.
Right. So basically what I'm going to do is I said I'm going to sell 100% of your Ether, and you're going to get $96 back in return in US dollar. You click on sell, and it's basically executed your trade at the top. It's as simple as that.
So it's done.
It's done. Right?
Wow.
So what I've done is I've done it against a limit order, meaning that I've sold it at a specific price, which is $4,206. So once Ether reached that, once it paired against that price, then it'll execute the trade.
Okay.
If I sold it at market price, so whatever the prevailing market price is at that specific time, it will get sold at that price.
So there's a chance it might be lower.
So if it goes lower, we don't want to sell it lower.
Yeah.
We want to sell it at that specific price.
Okay.
So it'll only execute the trade. You can see the trade is executed at the bottom here. It'll only get filled at $4,206.78, which is that price right now.
Yeah.
But there's not enough buyers in the markets yet. Right, so when they find the buyers, you're going to get some dollars back in return.
Okay,
right. So it works the vice versa as well. So if I have US dollar, I can basically go buy Ether in exchange.
Okay.
Well, so what we're going to do is, from now, we're going to talk about your favorite thing, which is the Bear NFT project.
Okay, awesome.
Cool.
I hope that everybody has an overview about how the Bear NFT project works. Or how NFTs work and cryptocurrencies. Don't worry, I'm not going to be as complex as Suvashen was, because I can't. But it's quite an interesting discussion. Again, if you have any questions or comments about anything he's discussed, if you're unclear about anything, or you just want him to point out anything again so that you can jot it down and do some research, let us know. And I'm going to start talking to you about who I am and where what Bear Necessities is. So I'm Neeri Naidu, and I am one of the co-founders of Phoenix Animal Care and Treatment, and recently also part of the Bear Necessities Sanctuary, which is an NFT project. So just tell you a little bit more about the Phoenix Animal Care and Treatment. I'll go briefly over it, but our handles are on your screen, so you can always go on and have a look at it. And also you can go on to the Bear Necessities website and also get the handles for the Bear Necessities NFT project. But definitely go on and check us out, and you'll see the work we do, because the two are linked. It's one of the same. So we were founded in March of 2012. And our core vision is to rescue, rehabilitate, sterilize, and rehome abused, neglected, and abandoned animals. Ever since, we have successfully rescued, rehomed, sterilized, vaccinated just over 50,000 animals, which is a huge milestone for an organization that has very little resources, very little funding. Also, keep that in the back of your mind when you think about why would this nonprofit animal welfare organization want to enter the NFT space. So as you can see, just 3 cases here. There's a dog that was abused, was neglected. We took her in. It's amazing what love and treatment from a doctor will do, but all that costs money, of course. And then we are involved in feeding programs. Ever since COVID hit, our numbers went from roughly over 130 animals to just over 600 animals today. So we have to make sure that we feed all of these animals on a daily basis, and it's quite a struggling process every single day. And this is one of the reasons why we were so excited when we learned about NFTs. Now, Bare Necessity Sanctuary is actually based on an actual sanctuary that the Phoenix Animal Care and Treatment have a vision of building. And as you can see on your screen, it's a wonderful piece of land. When we take our animals there, it's so serene for them. It helps in the rehabilitating process. And we have a massive vision for it to build a shelter, which is a home away from home for dogs and cats and farm animals, hopefully one day. And so we've actually taken this real life sanctuary and we've converted into a NFT sanctuary, which is the image you saw on your screen when we first started talking about bare necessities. The NFT that we've designed is called Bear NFT, and it's based on an actual dog named Bear. So Bear was a normal dog. She's still a normal dog, but she woke up one morning and she was blind, and we needed to remove her eyes because it was too sore and painful for her. And then after that, she just kept on having a whole series of health complications, including various types of cancer, but she kicked its butt each time. She's just this amazing dog she has like such a zest for life, and it shows. I mean, if you meet her for 5 minutes, it's infectious. So we decided to build an NFT around her, and she goes out with us. She talks at school. Well, she talks with me at schools. The children love her, and she loves being around them. She loves the educational space, and you would never say she's blind. I have to explain to people that she has no eyes because sometimes they barely notice that she's blind. She's amazing. So we've developed an NFT around her. So what that means, as you can see on your screen, is we've had to find an artist who could sort of like share the story of Bear through the image. And we found an amazing artist in Turkey. His name is
Aaron.
Aaron, yeah. He's actually an awesome artist because it was very difficult to try to draw Bear without eyes. But as I said, people barely notice she's blind, and that's exactly what he's done. And this is her actual smile. He's based this NFT on her actual smile. And as you can see, she's always happy. So there is 10,000
algorithmically generated images.
Thank you, Suvashen. Yes,
totally right. So basically, Neeri, it's layers that we've created, like with these outfits, etc., with a static image.
Right.
And basically, the program that we've developed will automatically generate all these layers and images on the blockchain. That's
amazing. And it just does it automatically. 10,000 images.
10,000 images automatically.
Okay, and so...
so it's some really cool art, right?
Yeah, I mean, look at that. There's Michael Jackson there.
Exactly. That was my idea, by the way.
Okay. Give credit to you. And of course the artist. But
yeah.
As you can see...
Oh, sorry, this was my favorite. The Darth Vader.
We've tried to get as many themes as possible, and who doesn't want an Indiana Jones or a Star Wars or a Star Trek? And yeah, so that's basically what the NFT is. How the entire process works is that you would need to, our pre-sale is on the 21st of December. So what that means is that we've actually opened up 2 days before we actually put it out, on OpenSea completely. We're allowing 1,000 people.
Yeah. So basically, what's going to happen is that we've got a website for the Bare NFT project. It's called barenecessities.org. Right?
Yeah.
The link will be, I think the link is up there on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a pre-sale on the 21st of December.
Right.
Where 1,000 people are going to get this NFT at a reduced price, right? Which is 0.03 Ether. They're going to be able to mint like via your MetaMask wallet that I showed you earlier.
Okay.
They're going to be able to connect their wallet and click on the button mint, and it's going to generate a unique image of Bear, right? Based upon the layers that we have on the blockchain, right?
Yeah, right.
And it's completely random. So all of them are unique in its the way it's represented in terms of the layers, etc. And it has different levels of rarity, right? So the rarer it is, and unique, the more unique it is, the higher the value of that NFT is going to become down the line.
Right. And also each NFT has a unique code that
exactly.
It's an ID code. No one else in the entire metaverse or universe will ever own the NFT that you have because it has a unique code.
Unless you decide to sell it.
Yeah, but up until the point that it's in
exactly.
with you, nobody else will own it, which is why it becomes so valuable because there's only one of it in the world, like how there's only one Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
So that's the equivalent of it. And so what happens is when you buy an NFT, for this drop, 20% of the sales goes to Phoenix Animal Care and Treatment. If you can do the math, right? But basically, Phoenix Animal Care and Treatment will be able to help so many animals. It's unbelievable. And also, this is the type of model we want other welfare spaces to adopt. Not just animal welfare, but any welfare. Because your market is not just here in South Africa, it's not just here in Durban, it's basically anywhere in the world. The world is going into this metaverse and this
NFT
play. Right. So nobody wants to be left behind. Yeah.
So I hear, Neeri, you guys have been promoting a lot on Spaces, etc. So what's been the experience so far on Spaces?
So, it's kind of amazing because I'm very new to NFTs, as you know, I've asked you a million questions. Yeah. And, you think it's intimidating at first because I don't have, much knowledge about this, but it's actually a community.
Yeah.
And there's a whole lot of people that have real life experiences. There are moms, there's dads, there's single moms, there's people that have survived traumatic experiences. There are real people that have now taken up NFTs to tell their story and become financially free. And 90% of the stress is gone because they don't have to worry about where they're going to find money from. And they've taken up their skills and just put it into this NFT space. Now, Suvashen was saying earlier on that, some of these NFTs, watch out for scams. They just, or people that just want to be here for a quick fix.
Exactly.
And, just sell your images and then you're gone. And then, people are left with your images. And then what now?
Yeah.
But then we've developed something called a roadmap, which is what proper NFTs develop. You want to go ahead with
exactly.
that?
Yeah. So in terms of the project that we built around the Bear NFT project, right? We want to actually create value for the Bear NFT holder, right?
Absolutely.
And we've got a lot of interesting stuff that's coming up on our roadmap.
Really interesting.
Really, really cool stuff, right? We got one of the world's most iconic figures that we're going to be generating as an NFT on the 11th of February. You can Google that date and figure out who it is, right? We've got bear buddies that are going to be coming up.
Right, but you have to explain bear buddies a bit more.
Right, so it's all best friends and rescues, etc. that are going to be existing on this metaverse game that we're going to develop.
You're right.
So you're probably nostalgic like me, Neeri, and I owned a Tamagotchi at one point in time.
Yes, I'm also old, yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Right? So we're building this metaverse play around the Bear Sanctuary project where we've created this metaverse.
Right.
And all your rescue animals are going to become NFTs. And then people are going to be able to adopt this NFT on the metaverse itself.
And that's great because not only are they adopting animals, but we're getting out our message of adopt, don't shop.
Exactly.
And also, what's so exciting is Bear Buddies could be any animal in the world. You could adopt a dragon even.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly, right? But you also have to keep these rescues alive.
Yes.
Right? So you're going to have to
buy some... real life, yeah.
Right, so you're going to have to buy some virtual food online.
Clean up poop.
Clean up poop.
Yeah.
Or hire the cleaner to clean up poop.
Yeah.
You're going to have to buy tokens on our metaverse. Mm-hmm. And all this revenue and etc. that we're generating off this metaverse game that we're developing is going to be going to Phoenix Animal Care. So we're trying to make this a sustainable project where we can get other organizations involved.
Absolutely.
Right?
Because that's it.
But the thing is, we want to make an impact and make a change globally.
100%, yeah.
Right? And that's what we're trying to achieve. We want all animal rescue organizations in the world. Right?
Who knows, maybe all welfare organizations.
All welfare organizations.
Children and
world,
women.
Right?
And, yeah.
So in terms of the roadmap that Neeri, Desh, and Candice and stuff have developed is that I know you guys are big in terms of making a real impact in the world. Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's all about women empowerment, one.
Yeah.
And we're introducing projects around digital art across multiple continents in terms of where we're getting underprivileged people to produce their artwork. So there's fantastic stuff that's happening on our roadmap.
With women and technology, I just want to highlight it very quickly. But there's such a small space that women in technology occupy. And there's absolutely no reason for that.
We were on a space the other day, myself and
Yeah.
you, right? Where they said the VC funders in the US,
Yeah,
under 1% is woman funded.
Yeah.
Women get funding, right?
absolutely.
That's for $1 million,
It's crazy.
right? And then if you look at such a male-dominated environment, it's ripe for you guys in order to disrupt the space. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so, also just quickly about women empowerment over and above that is that, a lot of these welfare spaces are run by women.
Exactly.
Majority of them.
Yeah.
And it's already, you feel so disempowered because you are struggling with society norms, etc., etc. But NFT gives you a space and a community because there's a large group of women in NFT spaces. Just come and join our Bear BNS. It's at Bear BNS on Twitter. We also have a Discord link on our Twitter page as well and on our website. Join us and be part of our community. It's an amazing community to be on. We are on every single day, and you can create your own. If you don't have Twitter, create your own anonymous pseudonym or whatever you want to, because it's so cool. You can be yourself without anyone knowing who you are. Join us and just learn more about it. But what we are planning to do is actually we want this model to work for PACT and for animal welfare, so that it works for other organizations. Because as Suvashen said, we are 3 women who want to make an impact, a long-lasting impact, and create a rippling effect. So that's what we really want to do, and that's what we hope this webinar will do.
Exactly. And there's also a couple of famous people following you guys right now.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
No, yeah. So if you want to see who those famous people are,
like, follow, retweet, share our link everywhere. Right?
Guys, yeah, it's you would think we just 3 ordinary girls. We may not be normal, but we're ordinary. But
I know that for a fact.
No, that point wasn't open for discussion. Okay. But basically, we all don't have a background in technology, and we came on to the space. We started joining spaces and just googling and watching YouTube videos. And Suvashen and this amazing team that we have behind us will keep sending us links and trying to educate us and empower us as women, because we run the team. So, but
you know what's the strange thing enough, right? I joined the spaces the other day with you, and it was for women-led projects, and I felt very out of place. But I actually spoke.
Yeah, you did. No, there are a lot.
But I don't think anyone listened to me because.
Yeah, you are the inferior species there.
Exactly in that group. So. No, but I think that what we're trying to drive with the project, I think you know what, we want to make a change.
Yeah.
And that's the driving force in terms of what we're trying to do.
And we want to empower others.
Exactly.
The knowledge of NFTs and cryptocurrencies in South Africa is very, very small. It's very limited.
Exactly.
And so we don't want that, because it's huge in America, it's huge in other parts of Europe, and even in North Africa now. Yeah. So let's not get left, behind. And I hope that, you join more of these seminars and educate yourself more. And if you have any questions or comments, our information is there. Direct message us even if you want to.
Oh, do you see who is the biggest buyer, one of the biggest buyers of NFT in the country right now? AB de Villiers.
Look at that.
Brian Urbana just created his new NFT as well. So the use cases in terms of who's using the space and who's playing in the space, it's serious people.
Would you say that it's easier to get in the market at this point here compared to...
If you had to look at it, right, and where we are right now, we the 1%.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's
amazing. And I think it's always, we don't know where the space is going. And right, no one can predict it and say, this is the future. Because technology, market sentiment, etc., can change over the next year or two, right? And NFT could just be a fad. That's going to go away and be replaced by something else on the blockchain, right? But the use cases for NFTs down the line, just not for digital art, but for other use cases in terms of our day-to-day lives. Like, think of it when buying a ticket. Mm-hmm. That could be an NFT, right? You have access to a movie, to a specific theater throughout the year by holding that NFT.
Yeah.
Think of it as you buying a car. So you're going to BMW, and if you hold an NFT of BMW, every time there's a new car that comes in the country, as an NFT holder, you get a 10% discount and you get first access to that car.
It's amazing.
So people are using NFTs in different ways, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's going to be used more and more in real world
use cases,
because we are using it as an entity right now, where we're creating NFTs to transfer properties, etc. So we play around with the technologies in real world use cases that happen in the environment, day to day.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, I think personally believe the future is there. And I think in terms of what we're doing with the NFTs, there's a fantastic roadmap that's going to happen over the next 6 to 12 months in terms of what we're launching. And we want to create value and utility for the consumer.
Absolutely.
Right? So our vision is just not make some money, give it to PACT and run away in the other direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even from a welfare perspective, our aim is not just to, in future drops or even in this drop, it's not just to make this money for our organization because, we rise by lifting others.
Exactly.
So as a community of animal activists, we want to help others, but also there's other welfare spaces that we are involved with, children, violence against women. We want to empower them like how we are currently empowered with this knowledge. And hopefully, if you're listening and you're in a welfare space, adopt this. Ask us questions. We're more than happy to help out. I speak for Suvashen. He's more than happy to educate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So again, we want to introduce it to as much organizations as possible. If you really think about it right now, we wanted an international reach for PACT.
Yes.
And the people that we interact with in the spaces environment, in terms of Twitter, etc., we'll be able to receive donations from international audience right now.
And that's the thing, guys, because people want to help us here. They visited our website in terms of PACT. They've seen the work we do. We always encourage them to check out the authenticity of the organization because there are so many scams out there.
Exactly.
And they've checked the work that we do. And for them to actually donate to us, it's going to be easy because we've actually created a wallet just for Phoenix Animal Care and Treatment. And also, it's open for the public to see how much your funds are in there.
Exactly. So when people donating, they can actually see the money and how it's being used.
And where did we use the money? Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So it's been, again, that's the beauty of blockchain, right?
Yeah, it's amazing.
So no one's going to be able to go and ask you, I've donated hopefully 1 Bitcoin to you, and what did you do with it?
Right. Yeah.
So you're going to basically show your ledger and say, this is how the funds were used, right?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yes, so we bring new developments every single day. Please join all our Twitter and our PACT handles. Bearnecessities.org is our website, and we are at BNS on Twitter, which is our most active space. But we do have a Discord community. Be part of it. Engage with us.
And you got a spaces coming up this Friday.
Yes. So if you are on Twitter, please join our space tomorrow. It is at 11 p.m. South African time, which is what South African time? What time zone?
I need to Google it and see what time it is in the US.
Basically, it's 11 p.m. South African time. If you're not from South Africa, you figure it out. But guys, it's been, thank you for joining us. It is incredible the turnout that we've had today.